The Adventure of Isaac Saddlesore and the Witches of Drenn, or The Dancing Ladies. Part 6, The Australian, the Witch and the Wardrobe.
Having travelled to Drenn, Suffolk, with Sir Maxwell Gropefund, Saddlesore had revealed that the man's life was in mortal danger before leaving again for London. The very real threat was shrouded by mystery, surrounded by rumour connected with the fanciful history of Sir Maxwell's newly inherited home, Embuggerance Hall, a crumbling edifice guarded by the 5 dancing ladies, statues supposedly of trapped souls that stood against the witch, Maria Geldridge. The previous day, Maxwell and I had gone on an expedition to try and track down the supposed leader of the current local coven, only for the great steaming Australian to become sidetracked by some bit of skirt from the sweet shop. I had gone to the pub, and there met an unusually familiar old cove by the name of Muckraker. I soon became convinced that the jovial old gent was, in fact, Saddlesore in one of his disguises. But before I could confront the man on the subject, the Trousermincer cider I had been sold took its full bowel buggering effect. I blacked out and was wheeled home by some kindly local in their barrow. I woke the next morning with the mother, father, aunts and uncles and unwelcome godparents of a hangover. My tongue felt like an entire Persian rug that had been used as a toilet for several bone-vide creatures and then rammed into my parched maw with red-hot pokers. Thankfully, once I staggered down to the dining room, it was clear that the bum-squats had put on a decent spread for the breaking of the fast.
The traditional Suffolk breakfast, sir.
And what does that consist of?
Pig, sir.
Sausages? Bacon?
Yes, sir. And black pudding, cold boiled ham, gammon steaks, pork chops, crackling, pig knuckle sandwiches, snout muffins, ears on toast, and prawn broth, sir. The broth is particularly good if you've had a cider the night before, sir.
Load the trough, bum-squat, my man. I'm so hungover I can see my own backside. I had just begun gorging in my own unique fashion when Sir Maxwell joined us in the dining room.
Good morning, Sir Maxwell, sir.
Snakes alive, my man. You look worse than I feel. Did you make a visit to the local brew house last night as well?
No, I came straight home after my walk with Miss Violet Purity.
Ah, so it's just fatigue. Kept you up all night, did she?
Don't be disgusting, Doctor. Of course not. I was kept up all night, squirting out of both ends.
Now who's being disgusting? Are you feeling like a little food? Perhaps a little pig's brain and grapefruit will stay down.
Good God!
The large man's usually ruddy face was whiter than old dog turds, and his brow was awash with clammy sweat. He suddenly clutched at his side in a voluble pang of agony.
Ah!
Sir!
Sir Maxwell!
Struth and sickness!
His great frame fell full length into the breakfast table.
Sir Maxwell! Sir, can you hear me?
Who let these 5-headed solicitors in here?
What's wrong with the man?
Oh, keep those bastards away from me!
This is how the old master, Sir Fergus, was took, Dr. Hotbuns. He started seeing things before his liver explosion.
Good glory holes! Maxwell, stay with me, keep breathing.
Ah!
Thank God he's still alive. Where's Mrs. Bumsquat? We must send for a doctor at once.
But surely you can tend to him, Doctor.
We're in a moment of crisis, Bumsquat, so I'm not going to be too harsh on you, but I'm not a bloody medical doctor. I'd be about as helpful to this poor man right now as a sack of shit to the face.
Mrs. Bumsquat is downstairs in the kitchen.
I'll go down and send her to fetch the local quack, then I must see a man about a donkey ride. Urgently.
At a time like this?
I'll explain later. Mrs. Bumsquat! Having dispatched Mrs. Bumsquat for the doctor, I raced down to the seafront as fast as my manly build would allow. I was convinced that the man who ran the donkey ride at the beach was Saddlesore, and he had to cease titting about playing the actor and get on with his actual job of detecting before Maxwell was added to the list of the deceased and his statue joined that of his uncle and the 5 dancing ladies. I ran into the lady Sir Maxwell and I had met at the sweet shop yesterday. Miss Purity, Forgive me. Please allow me to help you up.
No,
Sorry.
that's not my hand.
I just went for the largest thing I could find.
No, let me hand you my hand.
Yes,
There
okay.
we go.
There we are.
Thank you. Where were you running to at such a rate, Dr. Hotbuns?
The donkey rides. I must get to the donkey rides. It is a matter of life and death.
Gracious. They're being run by the new man, Mr. Muckraker, aren't they?
Yes, it's him I need to speak with.
Follow me, Doctor. I can take you there.
Yes, but swiftly.
Here we are, Doctor. Just over there. I'll stay here on the decking if you don't mind. I'm not wearing suitable footwear for the beach.
Of course. Thank you, Miss Purity. 1,000 times. I dashed over the shingle toward the old duffer with one arm, leading a sad-looking donkey with an even more depressed-looking boy slouched on its back.
Oi! You! Saddlesore!
Morning, Doctor! That side has had its effect, hasn't it? Name's Muckraker, remember? Hey up, Miss Purity!
Good morning, Mr. Muckraker.
I need to talk to you, Saddlesore.
I'm working now, lad. I've this child here to take round. And it's Muckraker!
I am in no mood for this. Get lost, young'un. This is serious business.
Hey, steady thyself, man. You can't go shoving littlies off at donkeys.
Of course you haven't. I should know. I'm a doctor. Now shut up. Huh?
Here, get off that donkey!
Get moving and get talking.
By heck!
He led the now buckling donkey and I to a distant and deserted area of the beach, where I confronted him. Saddlesore, I know it's you, and I need you to stop arsing about now! We need to step it up a gear. Sir Maxwell is showing signs of liver poisoning. If we don't find out how he's being poisoned, it'll be curtains by tomorrow.
Look, well done and all that for seeing through my disguise, but you can't blow my cover. I've learned a great deal as Muckraker, and Maxwell mustn't know my true identity.
Why?
It's imperative to my operations that I work incognito.
You mean you don't want to get your other arm broken?
Well, yes.
Very clever, incidentally. Hiding the broken arm under your shirt like that. That would have given the game away straight off.
Thank you.
Anyway, Maxwell is hardly in a state to break anything at the moment. I mean, he's barely conscious, and weak as a lamb.
Really? Excellent. I mean, this is far graver than I thought.
Seriously, Saddlesore, this is now a kick-bollock scramble mission. Get in, solve the bugger, and get out. No farting around.
Just as well, then, that I took the liberty of sending a telegram to Scotland Yard this morning. Our dear old friend, Detective Inspector Burke, should be on his way as we speak.
No. Not Burke. I can't stand him and his stupid...
He's a spitting image of you, you know.
No, he damn well isn't.
Budge up there.
He did a one-handed cartwheel to join me on the back of the poor donkey.
Onward, Shadowfax! The game is afoot!
Why a foot? I mean, why not a hand or an elbow?
Idiot.
Shadowfax, the donkey, took us all the way back to Embuggerance Hall, where we dismounted and clambered through the front entrance. The donkey died later that day. Bumsquat met us in the hallway and told us the doctor had just left, and that Mrs. Bumsquat would come and give us a full report after she had finished upstairs, where she was attending to Sir Maxwell. Saddlesore and I waited for her in the dining room. I sat at the table to regain my composure and settle my somewhat concerningly erratic pulse, while Saddlesore paced the room agitatedly. Suddenly, he leapt up onto the serving bench and began peering at the large painting of Maria Geldridge that hung, glaring coldly down at us. Saddlesore, what are you up to? Get down from there. People serve food off of that.
Silence, you hefty monkey!
Oh,
Look here. Do you recognize anything in these features?
no, of course not.
What if I hid the lower part of the face? Just look at the eyes.
He reached his good arm up underneath the hard eyes of the portrait. I looked at him, nonplussed.
Don't stare at me like that, you pig-eyed sack of crap!
He slid his arm down the canvas to underline the cleavage of the woman. Great Ida! It's Miss Violet Purity.
Precisely.
But that is extraordinary. Why would someone paint a picture of Miss Purity and try to pass it off as Maria Geldridge?
Hot buns, I sometimes marvel that you manage to dress yourself in the mornings. Are you really so dense?
Now see here.
A Detective Inspector Burke to see you, sirs.
Inspector Burke was a bloated ferret of a man with shifty yellow eyes and an unshaven chin and a pointed bloodshot nose. He didn't resemble me in the slightest. He sauntered into the room with that special arrogance of policemen, with his grubby hands thrust deep into his trouser pockets, no doubt playing with himself.
Now then, Mr. Saddlesore, Mr. Hotbuns.
That's Dr. Hotbuns.
Yeah, but it's not like a proper one, is it?
True! Thank you for joining us, Burke. I hope your journey was uneventful.
I think I trod in pig shit at some point. But what can you do?
Perhaps look where you're going.
Now, Saddlesore, I think I'm pretty much up to speed with what you've told me. But I have to say, I can't make head nor tail of it all.
Fear not, Detective Inspector. All should become clear shortly.
Gentlemen,
Ah, Mrs. Bumsquat, how is Sir Maxwell? What did the doctor say?
he is still in a lot of pain and experiencing hallucinations. He thinks I'm his mother, sir.
Try not to take it personally.
The doctor is a fool, Dr. Hotbuns. He thinks it's down to Sir Maxwell's drinking. He says that he must leave off the cold pale ale and have 5 warm beers before bed every night.
What? He's being poisoned. It's got nothing to do with alcohol. Didn't you tell him the family history?
He wouldn't listen to me, sir. I am, after all, but a woman.
That's disgusting.
That may be so, sir, but I cannot help what I am through the accident of birth.
No, you dim bint. I mean the way he treated you.
Anyway, it isn't poisoning, it's magic. He is under...
I say, how did you do that with your voice then? That's awfully clever.
Mrs. Bumsquat, the sooner you rid yourself of this ridiculous predilection for the occult, the easier I will find it not to slap you silly 6 ways from Sunday.
We hadn't expected to see you again so soon, Mr. Saddlesore. How is your arm?
Agony! Thank you.
'Tis...
Stop that.
Does it put you all ill at ease when I say...
No! I just want you to stop doing it! Could you take us up to see Sir Maxwell, please? I must make a few final inquiries. Detective Inspector, would you care to join us?
Try and stop me.
You can't see Sir Maxwell. He's under...
Nice try, lady. But I'm still going up. It will take more than a spooky voice to stop me doing my duty.
His crippling incompetence, for example.
Bumsquat, could you send for Mr. Turntrout? It was he that set us on this little hunt. I feel it only fair that he should be here for the kill, so to speak.
Very good, sir.
We gathered about Sir Maxwell's bed. He was in a seriously bad way, sweating and writhing in great bursts of abdominal pain and bellowing at imagined intruders all the while.
Someone strangled that emu! Come on, the bastard's all nick!
Despite all this, Saddlesore felt it imperative to question the poor wretch. This took some time.
Sir Maxwell, do you know where you are?
Course I damn well do. Mudder Hulu Fudder Fudder, south of Bungee Buttock.
No, you're in Suffolk, England.
What? Oh, yeah, right. Drenn.
Correct! And do you know who I am?
An arsehole.
He's better than I thought.
I'm Isaac Saddlesore, the detective.
Saddlesore? 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 You dingo's dung hatch! What are you doing back here?
Trying to save your life, Sir Maxwell.
Well, you've slung that for a shrimp shit, haven't you? My liver's jumping like a wallaby on hot rocks. Why is this room swarming with 6-foot spiders?
I believe I know who is behind this, Sir Maxwell. I need you to tell me, did you eat anything yesterday that was not prepared for you in this house?
Saddlesore the man clearly needs rest.
Maybe I should put a counter-hex on him. I'll just fetch a ship.
Nobody leaves the room till I've got answers.
Susan, who gave you the Barbie tongues?
Sir Maxwell, I'm Detective Inspector Burke of Scotland Yard. I need you to focus for me. Dig deep now. Did you eat anything whilst you were out last night?
He bought some licorice from the sweet shop. I suppose he may have eaten some of that.
Did you eat the licorice, Sir Maxwell?
Licorice? Oh, no, not now. I'm not feeling well.
Where is the licorice you bought yesterday, Sir Maxwell?
The delirious Australian flapped his great hand down on the bedside dresser. On opening the drawer, we discovered a small brown paper bag with only a half twist of licorice left in it.
As I thought. This evidence alone would be enough to hang our culprit. Thank you, Sir Maxwell.
Put 'em back, Susan, and get those knickers off of your head.
Indeed.
Saddlesore led those that weren't raving Australian lunatics downstairs to the drawing room. He struck a businesslike pose at the fireplace. Burke stood by him with the bag of licorice in his hand, a dumbfoundingly ignorant look of pomposity on his pudgy face. Presently, Bumsquat returned with the tiny Turntrout in tow. "Hello, Mr. Turntrout."
Morning, Dr. Hotbuns.
Now, you may be wondering why we've gathered you all here.
Sod off, Burke. Lady and gentlemen, I have collated enough evidence to be certain of who the villain of our little tale is.
Gracious.
Who, sir?
Yes, who?
Someone in this very room.
Seriously, Burke, sod off. It is none other than Miss Violet Purity, she of Sweet Shop Ownery.
Who?
Why are you even here, Burke?
No, it can't be. Miss Purity is the dearest girl. She makes excellent fudge.
You've eaten a lot of this fudge, I take it?
I like a nibble before bed.
And in bed?
Mrs. Bumsquat, I urge you not to eat any more of it. I think you'll find that the nighttime trances will cease.
You don't mean she's been drugging poor Mrs. Bumsquat here?
That is precisely what we do mean, isn't it, Saddlesore?
Sod off, Burke! Let me weave you the yarn, if I may.
Oh, tits teeth. I'd sit down if I were you. These can go on for days.
I have often found that the best way to find out what is going on in country villages such as Drenn is by ingratiating oneself with the locals and learning the current gossip. So I took the opportunity handed to me when you all believed that I had headed back to London. I cobbled together a disguise from what I had on my person. You know I never travel without a few emergency cosmetics, crepe hair, grease paint, and so on.
Are you a thespian?
The kind folk of Drenn soon took to me as muckraker and spilled the beans all over the show.
Muckraker? He is!
Shut up, Burke. I soon began to patch together the story of our little Miss Too Pure Purity and became convinced of her guilt. I had our little friend Turntrout here look into a bit of her family history for me, confirming what I had hypothesized.
Yes, indeed. It appears that Miss Purity is, in point of fact, a descendant of the infamous Maria Geldridge. She is the great-granddaughter of Willow Thruppenshaud. The family line has always sired only one daughter, and as soon as the child is born, the husband is soon discarded. If not killed, then at the very least divorced. A fiercely independent feminine force. No wonder they have been deemed witches through the ages.
Precisely. Now, butt out. I'm telling the story. Each daughter, I imagine, has been brought up to hate the Grope Funds for casting their family out into the wilderness and taking what they see as their rightful family seat. And so Miss Purity moved back to Drenn and began her schemes to regain Embuggerance Hall and destroy the last of the Grope Fund line.
But how did she go about it, sir?
I'll ask the questions here, chump. How'd she do it, Saddlesore?
Miss Purity, it turns out, is quite the mycologist.
A Mickey who?
A mycologist is the scientific name for a person who knows the magical properties of fungi.
You're an idiot, Mrs. Bumsquat, but in this instance you are half right. What Miss Purity doesn't know about mushrooms isn't worth knowing, and she used this knowledge in her confectionery business. Sir Fergus Grope Fund had a penchant for gobstoppers, I believe.
That is quite true, sir. Sometimes he'd have 12 a day. We always said they'd be the death of him.
Well, you were dead right. It was a childishly simple matter for her to poison the man by mixing into her gobstopper recipe the lethal Amanita marginata.
Deadly witch cap.
Just so.
And so, the same fungus was used in Maxwell's licorice.
The effect of this on the liver is, as you have witnessed, fairly extreme. Sir Maxwell is lucky his constitution is so incredibly robust, or his abdomen would have exploded as his predecessors.
But what about the rumours of witchcraft? The chanting from here in the hall?
Purity convinced Mrs. Bumsquat here that she was a witch, disguising herself as the fictitious coven leader, Heggerty Hagbottom.
You mean I'm not a witch?
Finally, the penny drops.
She knew that Mrs. Bumsquat was a gullible old tit who already believed in magic. She merely had to drop the subtlest of hints to convince Mrs. Bumsquat to do the daftest of things, such as sacrifice a sheep at night in the cellar. First, she gave you a kind of magic broth, isn't that right, Mrs. Bumsquat?
Yes.
Heavy on the mushrooms, was it? And then, after you decided to stop being a witch, Miss Purity came to you as herself and offered you some of her delicious fudge.
Yes, sir. I remember that is when Miss Purity started delivering the fudge.
She plied you with the fudge, which I don't doubt was traced with Liberty Cap mushrooms, putting you into a trance state. By doing so, Miss Purity played on your easily manipulated gullibility, inducing you, you poor, deluded pervert, that you were capable of witchcraft and guilty of Sir Fergus's death.
Are you going to let him talk to me like that, Horatio?
Why not? He's right.
But how was it that no one suspected her before now? It was a simple task for me to search her family history once you asked, but I never have thought of it if you hadn't.
Of course you wouldn't. You're an idiot. Everyone is. It makes life so intensely tiresome for me. No one in the village had put it all together because they were, everyone, completely convinced that it was witchcraft. Provincial plebs that you are.
Well done, Saddlesore. You've managed to be informative and staggeringly offensive in one go there.
So it was Miss Purity that left the threatening notes for Sir Maxwell?
Yes.
And it was she that made plaster casts of the masters' faces?
Yes.
And it was she that we chased from the hotel lobby?
Yes.
And she that made up that statue of Sir Fergus out there?
God give me strength! Of course it was, you shit-for-brains tit!
So the next step is to lure Miss Purity here to Embuggerance Hall so that we may apprehend her. And take all the glory, of course.
Of course, pig. Our plan was to write a note to Miss Purity, supposedly dictated by Sir Maxwell, telling her that he was deathly ill and wanted her to come and see him before he died, as he had fallen entirely in love with her and wanted to speak with her before he passed. Saddlesore assumed that she would not resist the temptation of witnessing her handiwork come to fruition, especially if there was also the chance that she could get the poor besotted bastard to change his will and leave the house and all to her. The note was sent, and we all hid, awaiting her arrival.
Get your elbow out of my face, hot buns!
Shut! Mrs. Bumsquat, if you cup my junk once more, I will have you flogged!
Promises? Promises?
Saddlesore, must we all cram into this wardrobe? There's barely room to breathe.
It is the only hiding place in Sir Maxwell's room. Don't you want to catch our femme fatale red-handed?
Of course we do. Oldest trick in the policeman's red handbook.
Where's Turntrout?
Here, Doctor.
Thank God I've got such capacious pockets.
Where is Horatio?
Well, someone has to let Miss Purity in the front door, don't they? All right, own up, Batman. Which of you was it trumped? This is a confined space. That was bad form.
Christ! You could slice that and sell it.
Oh, forgive me, gentlemen.
Well, I never.
Shh! Someone's coming.
Shush, shush, my love. Oh, you don't look well, dear man. Not well at all. You shouldn't eat so many sweets, you know. They can be very bad for you. No. Don't try to speak. I assume you're over the worst of the hallucinations, yes? Were they very terrifying? I have to say they are a little bonus of the poison. An added torture before the final, fatal end. And the abdominal pains, were they dreadful too? Were you curled over in agony, my darling? Were you weeping and asking for forgiveness begging for relief. Oh, it can't be long now. And then the liver will finally explode. That can be avoided, you know, Maxwell. I can let you free before the final rupture. Would you like that?
Yes.
Yes? All right. But might I ask just one favour first? Will you leave me the house? My house. I have the papers here, you see. My lawyers have been looking on to all sorts of ways for me to regain my rightful home. But if you sign this little bit of paper here, it's all sorted. Just like that. No more fuss, no more bother. And I will release you from this awful pain.
Pain.
Here. And here is the deed. There we are. Thank you, my love. Now, let's lay you back a bit. You don't need that extra pillow, do you? Oh, it's such a shame you're a grope fund, Mr. Maxwell. I have quite a thing for large, bigoted, loud-mouthed men. How wonderful our life could have been together. Oh well, we'll make the pain end now, shall we? Don't fight it. I'm just going to put the pillow over your face and it will all go away.
That's quite enough, thank you, Miss Purity.
That's right. I think you ought to come along with me.
Oh!
Stop, hot buns!
Not so fast, Violet.
Let me go this instant.
I'd go along with Detective Inspector Berg here, Miss Purity. There's no escape. Bum Squad is waiting on the other side of that door with a shotgun. Isn't that so, Bum Squad?
Damn you! Damn you all!
Yep, that's what they all say, miss. Come along now. Thank you, Mr. Saddlesore, for all your help. Come on, you.
Ta-ta, Miss Purity.
You bastards!
He waved his broken arm, which wobbled about like a limp eel, at which sight I was violently sick. Maxwell made a full recovery, thanks entirely to, according to himself, a jar of Vegemite he had brought with him from Australia. I tried some of it, and was violently sick. Saddlesore and myself bid he, Turntrout and the perverted staff, the Bumsquats, a fond farewell and made to London. We took the last train that day, desperate for the comforts of home at 32 Double D.
Yes, it'll be good to be back in the metropolis again. Sea air is altogether too clean for me. And the country people are such a bunch of idiots.
I certainly look forward to a good night's sleep, not to be disturbed by a witch's chants, or sheep being sacrificed. Just the gentle throb of Mrs. Flumpsom's colossal snoring.
Yes, I'm almost looking forward to seeing the old sack of cowguts myself. There's something terribly reassuring about a hideous mush.
There's just one thing I don't understand, Saddlesore.
Only one? What is it?
Who did dob me into my fiancée?
In The Australian, the Witch in the Wardrobe, you heard Roger Parkins as George Hotbuns, Louis Alcock as Isaac Saddlesore, Callum Hale as Maxwell Gropefund, Darren Gosling as Mr. Bumsquat and D.I. Burke, Naomi Felton as Mrs. Bumsquat, and Alice Osmansky as Violet Purity. All other parts played by members of the cast. All original music by Dylan Alcock.